We're the battling bastards of Bataan. No mama, no papa, no Uncle Sam. No aunts, no uncles, no nephews, no nieces. No pills, no planes, no artillery pieces. And nobody gives a damn. Nobody gives a damn. Kia ora and welcome along to the Guy and Harley podcast. My name is Harley Neville.
And I'm Guy Pigden. And who was that?
It's a hot young rapper from 1942. His name is Frank Hewlett. He was a frontline soldier, American soldier, in the Battle of Bataan, the Bataan Peninsula, which was I think it's Papua New Guinea or somewhere around there, and it was against the Japanese, and they all got captured, and they got forced on a death march, and it was kind of a neglected theater of war because basically the Americans couldn't really win there, but they also, for political reasons, couldn't really concede there, so they just had to leave a bunch of their people to die and be captured with sort of false promises of salvation and all that type of thing.
So this guy Frank,
yeah,
was captured.
Presumably, yes.
Did he? So when did he write this poem?
I think he wrote it at the time because what they did was they wanted public attention in America because they needed people in America to give a damn about this theater of war. Because if the American public wasn't interested, then they were never going to get rescued type thing.
Right.
And then but at the same time, in 1942, well, you've got like Stalingrad was in 1942, and you've got interesting things happening in Africa and all these different places. And so like this was kind of a little sideshow, and so they were trying to drum up publicity and interest in the region and in the war. And this was just a poem that some frontline soldier wrote that kind of like went viral in the old-fashioned word of mouth way.
Working hard on his socials.
Yeah, he was working hard in 1942.
Trying to get his name out there.
Yeah, so he was unhappy about all the people at home who were not, contributing to the war effort for that particular spot, and the planes and all that stuff. They weren't going there; they were going to more important places.
Trying to get some likes.
Yeah,
it's interesting history. At the time, horrific, probably war atrocity.
Yeah,
being committed. Someone writes a poem about it, blows up.
Yeah,
and then someone makes a joke about it 70 odd years later on a podcast.
Yep.
With zero repercussions.
But a respectful joke. Well, none of we haven't actually made any jokes.
Well, we said I've socials in there.
Oh, right. Yeah, you've been making jokes.
Yeah.
I've been respectfully respecting our veterans.
Yeah.
World War II.
You
American
did say
veterans.
that Anzac Day was pointless once upon a time on this podcast.
Well, I do sometimes feel like maybe Anzac Day and other days, other Remembrance Day type things do glorify war in a way that perhaps they shouldn't.
Didn't you get on the newspaper for saying that?
I was in the newspaper. I also said it in the news. I said it in the news as well. We forgot to mention that last week when we were talking about all the different times I was in the paper. There was also the Anzac one.
For the time that you said that Anzac was a waste of time.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't do it.
Yeah, no. Look, here's what I said. I said the last World War I soldiers are in their grave, and the last World War II soldiers are on their way. And once those guys have gone, then I don't see why we would glorify, say, Vietnam and Korea and Afghanistan, and these are the other wars that New Zealand has been involved in. I'm like, well, if we really want to respect them, shouldn't we make it that it never, ever, ever happens again by making the youth terrified of going overseas to kill people? Instead, what we do is we go, hey, let's get the whole country together, and we'll all get up at dawn, and we'll all honor them in a way that makes it that you'll be a hero if you go and die for your country. And right here on the Guy and Harley podcast, I'm saying that countries are just lines drawn in the sand with a stick, and you shouldn't die for them.
My close personal friend Alex Savage has been wrestling at a RSA.
Oh yeah.
Recently.
Yeah, that's a Return Service Association establishment.
It's basically a piss up for old people.
Yeah.
Though really.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them are
obviously.
This is
why I still buy my poppy.
Veterans,
yeah.
And that's how my close personal friend has been contributing.
Yeah. by wrestling there.
By wrestling, which brings in customers.
I'm sure
which
the veterans are proud.
Yeah, which in turn makes the veterans. We do have 60 minutes of silence remembrance.
Yeah, 60 minutes.
60 seconds.
Fuck, I was gonna say
60 minutes is a bit long.
It's a lot of remembrance.
You probably start talking.
Oh, you fall asleep.
One of us would.
Yeah.
But yeah, so 60-second remembrance for the veterans as Alex Savage is preparing to wrestle his match.
Well, when's that?
Well, it's been and gone.
Back in April. Yeah,
I've actually had or my close personal friend has just recently had to decline wrestling at one of them next weekend or next Friday because I've got something else that I want to do instead.
Yeah. Wanking.
Very important. Speaking of wanking, I just watched a YouTube video. I thought you'd appreciate this, Harley.
Okay.
It's called, it was something like No Fap 365 Days or something like that.
I think it was No Fap 30 Days. And the
well, no, there's no, he's made a series.
Oh, okay.
So there's a guy who's now a famous YouTuber called Captain Sinbad, right? And he's, like quite a now well-known YouTuber. And it seems that he originally went viral with these no fap videos, which is all about advocating no fap for a year or no fap for 30 days. That's what I was just looking at before, no fap. But he did another one, no fap 365 days. And then in this one, he's like, look, to be honest, I can't keep doing these videos.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know why, because he needed to start fapping again.
Yeah.
Or because he was like, I'm sick of just talking about how I don't wank.
Yeah.
And that's how I've blown up. So I need to transition away from this.
Yeah.
Which I thought was kind of hilarious. The comments section, obviously, in these videos is also pretty hilarious.
Yeah. Well, you might recall that I did advocate for this strategy on the Guy and Harley podcast.
Well, that's why I brought it up.
With my edging strategy.
That's why I brought it up. I thought you'd appreciate it, and I think that, you
don't jerk off on the day of an audition.
You've done your sperm quest thing now. That's done and dusted.
Yeah.
So the next great experiment can only be to put your money where your mouth is, put it all on the line, no fap for 365 days. You'll be getting acting gigs left, right, and center, mate.
Yeah, wow.
Your energy, you'll be focused. You'll never be better.
I really feel like what would actually happen though is my sex drive would simply die. And
that's possible.
It's already virtually faded away to nothing. And so if I just go 30 days, I'll just be like, you know what? I'll just never wank again.
It's time to quit.
Yeah,
for good.
It's time to quit. And the thing is, if I'm ever going to meet a life partner, then I need that biological drive to stay alive. You know, I've got to keep that alive. I've got to keep that hunger alive. Because at the moment, Friday night rolls around and I'm not like, I'm going to go cruise the club, pick up some chicks. You know, like I don't do that at all. I don't even ask a Tinder date out on a Friday night.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm like, well, if she can only go out on a Friday, she's probably a fucking pleb.
Yeah. Very judgmental.
Well, who goes out on a Friday? There's all the plebs will be there. Now, I want somebody who wants to go out on a Monday afternoon. That's what I'm looking for. A woman that wants to go out for a drink on a Monday afternoon.
Yeah,
then I'll know she's the one.
Yeah, which narrows it down to people with unconventional hours and unemployed people.
And alcoholics.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
People with severe mental illness who can't work.
Yeah.
Don't forget them.
Yeah. No.
Put them on the list.
Yeah. No, I
great criteria, great strategy.
I did think I need somebody who's on the benefit, right? If I get somebody that's on the benefit, then she's going to be available when I'm available.
She's going to be reliant on you.
She's going to be reliant on me.
She's going to feel like, comparatively speaking, you're going to seem very wealthy and successful because you have jobs.
Yeah.
And in fact, not even just one, multiple.
Yeah.
So you'll be like a god.
Yeah.
So a deity.
If there's any beneficiaries out there listening to the Guy and Harley podcast, just slide into my DMs, add me on Facebook, Harley Neville. Slide into my DMs. I'm looking for a beneficiary to date.
Good one.
Yeah. So there was something else I was going to say about not fapping, but
no fap 30 days. Try it. No fap 30 days.
Yeah. No. Well, I'm not going to try that. I'm not going to try that.
Nor should you.
No.
Let's just go on the record right now and say, stop this stupid shit, Captain Sinbad. I hope you're not still perpetuating this nonsense.
Well,
it doesn't help you focus shit. It's like walking around with a loaded gun, right? in your pants.
That's
what it's like. It's dangerous.
What's the longest you've ever gone without?
I don't know.
20 minutes?
24 hours? I don't know. Probably like just over probably almost 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Almost, probably.
That's a good effort. I'd say that probably beats my best. I'm not sure what my best is, but I do remember there was a couple of times when I was like staying at people's houses, I remember one time I was staying at a friend's house and I was sort of sleeping on the couch. It was our dear friend Joss, and I was up. I was gone to Wellington for work experience, and I was trying to get a job, and so I was just staying at her house, like on the couch, and I didn't feel right, just whacking it in the lounge.
No,
and so I had
inappropriate.
Inappropriate, and so I sort of had to spend the whole time, without, and there was not really anywhere else to do it. And frankly, it was quite distracting because I'd just be walking around town all distracted, at work all distracted, But
closer to 3 weeks actually.
It does add a certain amount of energy to you, perhaps.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when I went over to see my friend get married.
Yeah.
In China.
Yeah, they have a no wank policy in China.
They frown upon it over there. It is a communist country,
yeah.
and they have rules in place about where
wanking.
and when you can.
Yeah.
And they basically no foreign fapping allowed.
Yeah. No foreign fappers.
So basically, it was a similar situation in that we were staying in a very closed quarters environment. Walls made of paper,
right?
And sharing rooms with multiple people, and
Yeah.
it was just like, how's this gonna work?
Yeah,
in any scenario,
yeah.
How is this gonna work? It is not. So yeah, it was probably like 2.5, maybe 2.5, almost 3. Yeah.
Well, I had
and guess what, Captain Sinbad? It was horrible. It wasn't good at all. It was not good for anyone. So it's just pure silliness. It's it's denying your body's
natural urges.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what's next? Feeling ashamed of it because of your religion?
What's next? No shit November? No more shitting? We're just denying our bodily functions now?
It's insane.
What the fuck is wrong with you, Sinbad?
Well, the problem is, I guess what annoys me is I feel like this was the sort of, because he's kind of like a filmmaker type, or an aspiring filmmaker. Like that's what he is. He's a sort of an aspiring filmmaker / actor. But I feel like his whole groundswell of support was built on a no-fapping empire. A bunch of no-fapping believers that he cultivated through his no-fap videos that then kind of transitioned into other stuff. Because it's not like he doesn't have good content, as in, it's not that he doesn't do other interesting, videos and stuff like that. It's just, to me, that's inappropriate way to go viral.
It is. Do you need those headphones on?
No, I'm probably shouting.
You're probably shouting a little bit.
I just need to check, actually. Let me just do another check.
We're working here. Yeah.
It sounds good.
It does sound good. Yes. So, good. No Fap November. No fapping. Good. I have 2 shout-outs. The first shout-out is to Chuck Black. I always wonder the same thing when I hear Chuck Black. Do you remember what it is, Guy?
Yeah, how much Chucks would Chuck fuck if Chuck could fuck Black or something like that, some nonsense like that.
It's how many Chucks could Chuck Black fuck if Chuck Black could fuck Chucks? And the answer is quite a few, I imagine. But anyway, Chuck Black on YouTube says that he just bought Immy the Vegan after listening to episode 205. And he says it seems like a small thing, but he's a pensioner and he watches his pennies closely. Now, so thank you very much, Chuck, for checking out Immy the Vegan. I don't know where he would have paid for it. I guess maybe on Amazon Prime. If you don't have Amazon Prime,
that's right,
you can just hire it for $5 or whatever.
Yep.
So thank you very much, Chuck, for that. And then the other one was Sam from the Chris and Sam podcast. But I've actually lost his comment. So do you want to?
Well, we should also just shout out the other Sam.
Yeah.
So I believe you're talking about Sam Spooner.
No, I'm talking about Sam from the Chris and Sam podcast.
Which Sam am I talking about? I know 3 Sams.
Yeah.
Better double check. I'm talking let me just double check who I'm talking about. I'm pretty sure I'm talking about Sam Wheeler. I hope I'm talking about Sam Wheeler.
Ah, yeah.
Because he
Sam Wheeler
of Zombied.
Yep.
Zombed.
Yep.
Have we ever established whether it was Zombied or Zombed?
Well,
have we actually gone to the source, that being him, and asked him?
Well, I'm pretty sure it must be Zombied, and I feel like Tyler, the website creator, this is a feature film that was made by Sam Wheeler, and it's called Zombed or Zombied. It's spelled Z-O-M, comma, D.
Yeah.
Oh, no, B. Z-O-M-B, comma, D. Zombed.
Yeah.
Now, I've always read it as, I think I always thought of it as Zombed. But I'm pretty sure that Tyler, the website creator, called it Zombied, or the other way around. I can't remember. Maybe I said it was Zombied, and he thought it was, and he called it Zombed. I can't remember. But yeah, you have to clear that up for us, Sam.
So he just finished some visual effects on a new short film that I'm currently working on called Stay at Home, and those were the last. It was the last visual effects shot to be completed. So now I am trying to find a time to get in and do the grade and finalize the mix. And I've also just received the final, or I haven't yet, apparently it's coming today, the final score from the Tomas Iglesias.
Doing the score on that one. That's good.
He did the score for it, and he did an amazing job. I really love what he's done.
So you got so if I recall correctly, Thomas was someone that I connected you with a little while ago when you were looking for a composer, and then there was Donna as well. And then so what you've done is you're using Donna.
Split them up.
You're using Donna for the documentary, and you're using Thomas for the short film.
Yep. So
nice. Good hustle.
Tomas is doing Stay at Home, and Donna is doing the documentary Glimpses, which is also getting close to being finished. I've got a final grade session for that on Friday, and I have to listen to all the music cues that have been sent through, which I was planning maybe to do tonight. And she's just going to be sending the last set, so for the last couple for the end of the film, she's going to be sending those through on the 16th, so in 2 days' time. So that's getting close to being finished, and there is 2 deadlines coming up, so I'm kind of hoping that I can meet those deadlines. The New Zealand Film Festival deadline is rapidly approaching, as is the Show Me Shorts deadline.
July 1st for Show Me Shorts. If you're a filmmaker anywhere in the world and you've got a short film and you want to get it into New Zealand's biggest and best short film festival, go to showmeshorts.co.nz, and the final deadline is July 1st. It's an Oscar-accredited short film festival, which means that if your film gets in and wins an award, you can then apply to be nominated for an Oscar. So
I'm looking forward to Stay at Home being both getting in. That's not a good sign. Both getting in, and I think I know what happened too.
Yeah,
but it should be fine.
It'll be that same problem that we had with the old one. With you've got to install that hardware, that firmware, and all that shit that you had to do with the Canon 250D. So for the listeners at home, the camera's just turned off again. We've gone back to our old problems because
we've gone back to old technical issues.
Yeah.
Here we go. Bringing it back. So, we're back. Don't worry about that. Technical difficulties. Here we go. It's coming. Ready? Let's give it a second. Any minute now.
So,
here we go.
We are trying out a new setup.
We're trying out a different camera.
Yeah, we're trying out a different camera because, I'll let you talk about it, but you, as I understand it, you want to do a review. The Savage filmmaker wants to do a review on how you can use older 2013 Canon 5D technology and still make it look great and still get a lot out of it, even though it's from 2013 and it's now 2021. Meanwhile, here we are in this very green color balance, and the camera's just turned off. But actually, the green looks fine on YouTube, so it must just be in OBS.
OBS is misleading there.
Yeah, it's OB bullshitting. It's OBSing.
Yes, so I spoiler alert for any Savage filmmaker fans out there. but I am revisiting the Canon 5D Mark III. The Canon 5D Mark III was the camera that we filmed almost all of Older on. As times changed and people's cameras upgraded, we did recruit some different cameras at different times. We shot on the Sony FS7 for one scene.
The final scene?
Yep. We shot on the... which I was never a big fan of, to be honest, that final scene. The look of that final scene was not my favourite because it was not full frame. So it was filmed in Super 35. The FS7 is Super 35. The Canon 5D Mark III is full frame, which means you just kind of get a different sense of separation between the background and foreground and a different sort of look with each of the lenses. Which
definitely looked different.
Yeah, it did look different.
It was kind of okay because
there was nothing wrong with it.
It was set 6 months later or so.
Yeah.
Like the scene was set six months later. So Guy diligently, as he became a dad, well, spoiler alert, put on a little extra dad weight for that scene and shot it on a new camera. It was a director decision.
So it was interesting. Like, I don't love those cameras, but we also filmed on a Blackmagic Ursa Mini Pro G1. That was Isaac came in and filmed the movie winner, not movie within a movie. Well, it is a movie within a movie. It's a faux fake 1940 short film, feature film, like which Alex watches at some point. He filmed that on the Ursa, and we also filmed a little bit on the FS5 with Jared Murray. I believe we used the FS5 for one scene, and then we also used the Canon 1DC for a couple of scenes when Adam upgraded from his 5D Mark III to the 1DC. He has since upgraded to a $20,000 Red camera since then. Unfortunately, we did not use that on older. But the fascinating thing about the Canon 5D Mark III is somehow, to me anyway, it still produces something really quite awesome, which is very difficult to get in other cameras. And we're a
little soft as well.
Well, I could change that. I just have to adjust focus. Well, I'm not sure actually, because you look sharp there, right? So I'm a little bit out of focus, but that's because I'm slightly ahead of you, in front of you, right? But to me, that's a resolution thing. So that's the stream resolution that's making us a little bit soft. Not the us being out of focus specifically.
Wow.
Although our focal plane is not very much, so it could be. But to me, that's the judge of the focus, has to be. This is streaming, so the resolution's going to be low. But I will be talking about the 5D Mark III in an upcoming video if I ever have any time ever to do any editing on these YouTube videos, which at the moment is not looking that likely.
So go look up The Savage Filmmaker. So that was that other shout out was from Sam Elton Walters from the Chris and Sam podcast. If you're looking for any podcasts between episodes of the Guy and Harley podcast, go check out the Chris and Sam podcast, which also is Kiwis with a filmmaking theme, but they're based in Hamilton. We're based in Auckland.
Yeah.
So, but that's okay. So anyway, Sam's feedback is, this was on feedback on episode 205, Crushed and Discussed. He says, awesome stuff. Just caught up on this in the latest one. I think popular YouTubers and content creators get the biggest benefit when they keep pumping out content. I think you guys should keep pumping out skits and short form content, and Guy needs to keep pumping out content on the Savage Filmmaker channel. All of it is top quality. If you can keep creating content more semi-regularly, you'll be the next Viva La Dirt League. That's one topic. And then he also says, regarding who Guy would sleep with, out of the zombie-faced, plastic-faced, over surgeried, not specifically in Friends, but just in general, like if you would sleep with a 60-year-old with heaps of surgery, or a 60-year-old who's au natural, and you of course said that you would prefer the au natural, and then we talked about Friends, Courtney Cox versus Matt LeBlanc, and Sam says that he would sleep with Fat Joey over creepy dead-faced Courtney Cox any day of the week.
56. She's 56 years old.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Thought she was 60.
Yeah. So that's what Sam thinks. We need to continue with the short form content and that you should have sex with Matt LeBlanc as well. He agrees with you there.
What I don't like about YouTube, and this has now been allegedly disproven by YouTube, but it's 100% not the case, is what they say. This is new off. This is hot off the press. This is a scoop from the creator's studio.
Mm-hmm.
As they say, you are not punished for taking breaks from YouTube. You are not punished, as in, the algorithm doesn't drop you. Well, in my experience, that's 100% a lie, and it does drop you. But who cares about what I think? Multiple creators have said the same thing. So multiple actual big creators that are like sort of, hundreds of thousands of subscribers and all that sort of thing have been like, yes, if we don't update for sort of say 2+ weeks, we see a significant drop, a significant drop off. Now, to me, what this is essentially YouTube being like, we can't perpetuate this constant content thing because it's unhealthy, right? It's unhealthy for the people that are making stuff for us.
Stressful.
So we can't actually come out and go, yeah, you got us. Yes, you will get less. Yes, you'll make less money. Yes, to all those things. They have to say the opposite of that. But I think that truly the algorithm really is programmed to do that, which makes perfect sense. But they are now in this kind of good mental health space that we're all trying to, take care of everyone be nice to each other, bullshit that everyone be a good person, everyone have empathy, all
Hashtag
this
be kind.
fucking nonsense, right? That somehow that they can't outwardly say that, so they have to kind of have this new narrative like, no, just take as long as you want, take 6 months, absolutely nothing will happen to your viewership. You'll be fine. But if going by that logic, your views on those videos, well, I guess not, because you still have to get new views in from new people to go back to watch your old videos.
Yeah.
But anyway, it just seems a bit dubious to me.
Well, I have a friend. He has a channel called Living Big in a Tiny House, and he's one of New Zealand's biggest YouTubers. And he was saying that it's really good for him because basically when he doesn't feel like creating content, he wants to go on holiday or whatever, he just goes on holiday and he does it, and he does earn less during that time, obviously, because he's not putting out new content, getting new viewers, and those new viewers aren't going and watching his old stuff, but he still gets views on his old stuff, and so he still gets paid, just this passive income even from not even putting out any content. Which makes sense. Like, we're not putting out any new content on the Pigville channel, and it's still getting thousands of views per month. So if we had hundreds of thousands of subscribers and way more videos, it would still be making decent-ish money. It'd just be a lot less money than if we were actually putting out content every week or every day or whatever.
Yeah, I had another thought about that, but it's gone.
Well, talking about the MILFs, the plastic-faced zombie surgery people, I went in the other day to have an ECG, a heart. Get your heart checked out, because basically I had noticed sort of a feeling, wasn't really pain generally, but just like I could feel my heart when I can't normally feel it, and I was like, that's weird. Not pumping fast, just kind of just uncomfortable, and then sometimes if I was lying on my side, I'd feel like sort of the pressure, and I was like, this is uncomfortable. And every now and then I'd feel like a sharp pain if I stood up, or or just every now and then, and I go, ooh, and then it would be gone. So I was like, well, better go get that checked out, given that I'm knocking on 40, and don't eat particularly healthy or all that type of thing. And so I went in, I had my ECG, and the doctor was like a 60-year-old, plastic surgery everywhere, zombie plastic faces, as you referred to them. And the nurse was just a au natural 60-year-old. Yeah, so they were both there. So I went in there, and the doctor saw me, and then I went and saw the nurse for the ECG, and she was like, I was like, yeah, I'm quite hairy, so we'll have to to stick these, because what they do is they stick a bunch of things on you, and so she was like, oh, no worries, I'll just shave you. And then she started shaving, and then she was like, I'll just get the scissors. And then she went away and got the scissors. And then she put them all on. But put them all on. I've got all these patches now. And then at the end, while the doctor came back in and was talking to me, and the nurse was ripping them off. And so it was sort of that pain and pleasure thing, and so I sort of had the best of both worlds, really, because I had the 60-year-old au natural nurse and the 60-year-old zombie plastic face doctor.
Yeah.
You see? Yeah.
And they were pulling, they're pulling on your nipples, basically.
They're pulling on my nipples, yeah, exactly. So yeah, I came like 6 times. But I gotta say, in all seriousness, I would go for the plastic zombie face.
Okay.
Doctor,
Interesting.
Call me superficial.
Or here's the thing, though, for probably 20 years, it works great.
Yeah.
For 20 years, 20 extra years of looking young and hot.
Yeah.
That's quite good. It's just what happens at the end of that 20 years that's very, very disturbing.
That's the same argument against like tattoos though as well. People go, well, what are they going to be like when you're old? And you're like, well, who gives? If my literal fucking stomach is sagging and it's got a saggy tattoo on it, the tattoo is going to be the least of my worries.
Yeah, but the face is right there.
Yeah. Well, it's true. I mean, she definitely looked like she'd had a lot of work done.
Well, it's good to see you doing some research out in the field.
Yeah. That is what I was doing. Now, one of my jobs is filming counsellors for a major New Zealand city. Now, I won't tell you which city it is, but I only live in one city. And I film counsellors for this, job of mine. And on this particular day, I was filming these counsellors as they were doing what counsellors do. And I went into the bathroom, and I could see one of the counsellors was late. And at that point, I went into the bathroom, and I could see that someone was in the disabled cubicle in the bathroom, right? And I could see sort of the bottom, 20 centimeters under the door sort of thing. Now, it's a disabled cubicle, so it's got its own hand-washing facilities in there.
Yeah.
Now, I was not in the cubicle with this person, but I was just there, and I could hear the water. I went in to go for a piss, and I could hear the water running constantly. Yeah. Like much longer than if you were just sort of washing your hands, But I was like, all right, whatever. It didn't really sound like, hand washing, but, I was like, whatever. Now, what this person didn't know was that I could see their feet. Yeah. I could see their feet as they were washing their hands. Yeah. And they were wearing some brown leather shoes, like big boy shoes. Yeah. And, what was interesting was that they were on their tippy toes. They were on their tippy toes, and the water was running. The whole time I was in there, and I was like, that's weird. I wonder what they could possibly be doing in the basin on their tippy toes for the entire time that I'm in this bathroom. And it seems obvious to me that they were washing their willy. Yeah. That person... whoever they may be, were washing their willy. Now, I'm not one to judge. I'm actually a big fan of hygiene. So, I commend him for keeping his willy well washed. But, not very... I then went back into the main area where I was doing my job, and not very long later, a counsellor came in. A counsellor who shall remain nameless, but he joined the meeting wearing brown shoes. So, my hypothesis is that he was late that morning because he was having sex. Yes. Probably unprotected sex. And then he ran to work, washed his willy in the hand basin, and then got down to the business of governing a city. Yeah.
As you do when you're a counsellor.
Yeah. So, our taxes paid for that man to wash his willy.
And also... because he was late for him to have sex.
Yeah, well, that too. So you get all the scoops here, people. You get all the scoops here.
Yeah, well, that's quite interesting. It would have been more interesting if you'd waited for him to come out and gone, just washing your balls, were you? Just put him on the spot right there.
Did you get them nice and clean? I hand him some paper towels. I turn on the blow dryer thing for him. I go, here you go.
I feel like that would have been that would have thrown him a real curveball.
Yeah,
because he wouldn't have been expecting
some
that.
curveballs.
Yeah. So, dad joke number one for the podcast, in case you're keeping score.
It's dad joke number one. I haven't done a dad joke for quite some time on the
No,
show.
I just think I haven't noted it.
Oh, right.
I'm pretty sure there would have been one.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, what have I got? Oh, yeah. Okay. So, well, we should mention this because we've just been hit with I've been hit with a massive bombshell today.
Yep.
Now, the house that I currently live in, also, you know, and we've talked about this on the podcast before, but they say one of the, like, top 3 or top 5 most stressful things you ever do in your life, which I'm assuming is including dying, is moving house. It's right up there.
Yeah.
It's close to dying in terms of stresses, in terms of people's reluctance to do it.
Dying, giving birth, and moving house.
It's way up there, and it's probably above giving birth. You know, let's be real.
Let's be real.
I mean,
sorry, ladies.
I mean, yeah. Look, of course,
moving
giving
house
birth,
is way
but
worse.
the boxes.
Yeah.
Wrapping up the boxes.
Yeah.
You know, and then unwrapping the boxes. You could take everything out again.
Or when the movers steal all your shit, like they did with me.
If someone steals your motorcycle helmet.
Bull 18 movers. If you're in Auckland, never use Bull 18 movers. And I think
Did you
in
get in the
Australia
paper for
too.
that?
I threatened to put them in the paper. I did threaten to put them in the paper.
Threat.
No. Someone was interested in doing a story, and then it kind of just sort of dragged on, and they were maybe going to pay me, and they maybe didn't, and then by the end, I just kind of didn't really. I washed my hands of it eventually. I was like, well, fuck it. I'll just be $1,000 down then. Because they stole a motorbike helmet from me, one of my motorbike gloves, and some fucking shoes for my sister, some all sorts of shit. Motherfuckers. Bull 18. Never ever use Bull 18 movers.
So, unfortunately, we have found, my partner, my girlfriend and I, that we are going to have to move house.
You've been evicted.
We're being evicted. We've been given a 90-day notice. But the way that this came about was very interesting. So, essentially what's happened is that a little while ago, we'd always heard rumblings and rumours that, because this is a council-owned house where I'm staying, it's a council-owned flat. And we also, when we signed up for it, we were given a 2 weeks notice thing. So we were never signed a contract. We never signed like a 1 year contract or something, which at the time I thought was very curious because normally, you know, you're getting a lease and it's it's a year or 6 months sort of thing, you know? So to me, I was already like, that is strange. It's almost like they'd like to get rid of us at a moment's notice. Should they choose, because that's really weird, but okay, whatever. Now, again, allegedly, essentially where I am, there's this big waterway, and they need to bulldoze these houses where I live to revise this waterway because it keeps getting blocked and leaves and who else. And so the council bought this house to demolish it, right? But this is all kind of speculation and hearsay. But the landlord did sort of allude to this. But he was also like, don't worry, that's miles away. Now technically we have been here since the end of 2019, so it has been a little while now. I guess close to like 2-ish years or a year and a half. Yeah. And but the way that we found out about this is we're surrounded, so we're in this very gentrified area, and we're surrounded by very rich people. And all these rich people around us kind of own these like $3 million, $6 million homes. And they're quite, they're the rich, privileged upper crust of this area that we live in. And they basically kind of own all these houses around us. They're very particular about their properties. And there's recently one of our neighbors was just dumping leaves into our garden, just tipping them all into our garden. And my girlfriend was like, what are you doing? Yeah. And she's like, oh, it's fine because it's the council's property and it's going to be demolished anyway. And it was like, and my girlfriend was kind of like, well, maybe at some point, but it's actually our garden.
Yeah, we live here.
These leaves just are going into our garden, so you're just making it our problem. Yeah. And her argument was entirely based around this idea that it's the council's property, and the house itself should not exist.
Yeah.
And therefore you can dump things there. Classic rich person.
Yeah.
From round the way.
Should have just taken a shit over the fence.
Yeah, and go, oh. But
Doesn't
anyway,
matter. It's just for the council property.
I'm part of the council. This shit doesn't exist. If those leaves don't exist in my backyard, this shit doesn't exist in your backyard. Anyway, but she would basically then again alluded to the idea that, well, it doesn't matter because, it's going to be demolished sort of thing. And we were like, yeah, but that's in years' time, right? Like, we don't know when. But prior to that, we'd also seen a group of ACOM sort of builders milling about around the front and looking down our drive and stuff. And in fact, at the time, my girlfriend was like, oh, hello. Hello, it's me, Tisha. And she was like, oh, you're not going to, because she's foreign, you're not going to,
she's Asian,
you're
obviously.
not going to tear down a house, are you? You're not going to bulldoze a house, are you? And essentially they were like, oh, no, we're just checking the pipes sort of thing.
Yeah.
When actually,
no, I'm just here to check the pipes.
And clearly, that's exactly what they were doing, was assessing, we're actually here, we will be demolishing this place shortly. So what I don't like is that they could have just at the time been like, well, look, we are looking at doing that. That's why we're fucking here. So whatever. So after all this kerfuffle, my girlfriend started doing some intel and found a letter online, public record, of an email exchange between ACOM and the neighbors about this house being torn down, which allegedly was meant to happen in sort of mid-2020. The reason that it didn't was COVID. Hallowed be thy name.
Hallowed be thy name.
COVID came along and kind of stopped all that thing. And they're like, well, we may as well have someone just renting a house there. And we have to kind of put a pause on all of this till after this COVID business has stopped, which, gave this extension of time. Now, it also just so happens that a bunch of repairs need to be done in our house. So my girlfriend did two things. She actually directly messaged ACOM and was like, look, what's the story with this fucking house, right? Like, what's going on here? Do we need to,
should we be looking for new places?
What's going on?
Yeah.
And also, our fixing the house request was turned down, which has never happened before. And it's like, well, why would you turn down fixing a house? That's weird. You have to fix the houses when, essentially there's no lights in our kitchen.
Yeah.
The lights don't work.
You should take all the lights.
Oh,
and
this is a herald story.
The panels, the paneling of the carpet, rip it all up, take it all with you.
This is a herald story in the making, this one, I feel. But
I can connect you to all the people.
But anyway, so then we didn't get a reply from ACOM, but curiously, the Monday following this email, we get the eviction notice. 90 days, sorry, we're going to have to terminate your lease, which is no doubt because they're like, shit, the jig's up, boys.
Yeah.
She's got us. We can't lie about this. So I'm really glad that she did all that, because it means that we have some time to think about where we're going, and they didn't just... Because what they obviously wanted was us to stay right up until the very last second.
Yeah.
And then they go, surprise, bitches. We're bulldozing this place, so get out in 2 weeks.
Like, get out the way!
But now it means that we need a new house. We have a very specific set of criteria that we need in that house, and flatting in Auckland is a fucking nightmare.
Yeah. Well, that's all very stressful.
So that's what's going to be happening over the next sort of, we're looking right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I too got some devastating news involving flatting today. A letter from the landlord. My rent is going up $3.75 per week. Every week. It's the same. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. So it's like, Same thing. Stressful. Stressful. It's very stressful.
So yeah, that's what's happening. So we're both dealing with flat inconveniences at the time. So some might say mine is more inconvenient, but
Wow. It's all in the eye of the beholder, really, isn't it? It's all subjective. But that being said, with my rent going up, and with you guys needing to move house, now you might recall that maybe 6 months back or so, I was trying to move into the flat next door to Guy, and I went and I had a look at it, and the real estate agent told me straight to my face, bold-faced lies to my bald face. He said that it was council owned and that they were not planning on doing anything with it for years, and that basically it was to be a long-term thing. Now, I didn't end up taking it because I couldn't really afford it, but the people that moved in there, I feel a bit bad for them because they just moved in. Now they've just got to move out. But what is interesting is it does open up the potential for Pigville, with my rent increase and with you needing a new flat, it opens up the potential for Pigville to get back under the same roof. So I could maybe move in. We could get a 3-bedroom place. We get Pigville back under the same roof. We get this show back on the road. I'm excited by the prospect. It's going to be stressful though because I'm going to have to move.
Yeah, then you're gonna have to pack up your
my 5 things.
I was gonna say your 2 boxes of belongings. You're gonna have to pack them up. You're gonna have to move your moldy ass bed.
Yeah.
Your incredibly moldy bed will have to be shipped one more time.
Yeah.
Revealing yet more mold.
Yeah. We've seen a lot of good times, that bed and I. Been together for a lot of years.
One day it's the mold on the bed is gonna spread to underneath the bed, spread through the floorboards, and one day it's just gonna sink into the ground like one of those sinkholes.
Oh yeah,
and just gone. It's just gonna be one of. I hope you're not on it at the time.
At the time, yeah. Oh, it's gonna be like in Freddy Krueger. When he comes out of the wall behind the bed and sucks him in.
That's right.
Yeah, it's going to be just like that. That bed's actually got more DNA than I do nowadays. It's we've been through thick and thin.
Okay, that was quite a good joke. The second one was quite a good joke. Second one was quite a good joke.
Oh, good. Good. I'm glad you approve.
I'll give you that one.
Today is a good day. Not so much for you with the
not
flatting
for
thing.
me. No.
Not so much with me with this $3.75 thing. But the good news is I did just find 3 weeks worth of extra rent, sort of. Extra fee on top of my rent. Because today I went to the gym, right? I got up, I went to the gym, I stepped out of the car, I looked down, what do I see? $10 lying right there. Right there. That's 3 weeks of this extra rent charge covered. Boom. Then I went to the gym and I did my TRX. It's these 2 cables that go up to the roof with handles on them, and they meet at one anchor point in the middle, so you can sort of swing on them and you can do pull-ups and push-ups. And they're pretty much my favorite gym tool is the TRX, because you can just do everything on them. You can work any muscle and you can stretch in a million different great ways. It's my favorite thing. But I was doing a TRX class and I went in there, and I always like to and I was a little bit late, and so when you're late you've got to kind of squeeze in with some other people. But I went in there, I always like to get the one on the far end, the TRX on the far end, away from all the other people, so that you've only got one person on one side of you and the other side is free. And I went in there late expecting it to be taken, and it wasn't. And I was like, well, today's a good day.
Today was a good day.
Because there's one thing I can't stand, and that's people.
Oh, there we go. I figured out what the issue is, by the way.
It's the battery. So it's
not the battery.
It's the power saver. So what it is, I reckon this is what I reckon it is. It's the same problem with the 250D, which is that after a while of streaming as opposed to recording, it goes to sleep. And the only way to fix it is to install the firmware, which I don't know if the 5D does it or not, but the 250D does. And you have to install this firmware to trick it into thinking that it's recording or whatever. And that's how it stays on. Because I've done this. I've been through this. We've done this on the show before with my camera.
I have a feeling though. I think I fixed it. Have I fixed it?
Yeah.
I actually think what it is that it's the timer is set to turn off at 30 minutes. Now, there is a record time limit of 30 minutes on these cameras. The reason that there is this is it's to do with avoiding a certain fee, which all companies have to pay when something is considered a stills camera or a video camera. So if you're considered a video camera, you have to pay some weird fucking tariff in like certain countries because it's classified as such, right? And so how they used to work around that is put this 30-minute time limit. At least that's my understanding. And so some people front up and go, "Oh, we'll just pay it because we want them to allow them to shoot as long as they want." And other people are like, fuck it. And Canon's like, fuck you guys. I'm going to save some money and charge it back to you because all our cameras are quite expensive.
Yeah. But so the question is, can the Canon 5D, does it have the same sort of firmware workaround that the Canon 250D does? Because I had to do all of that. I had to install it and, figure it out. And I remember it taking me quite a while. You might recall that for several episodes of the podcast, my camera would abruptly cut off halfway through several times throughout the show in the exact same fashion.
Well, the hard part of this is I can't actually update to the latest firmware because I'm currently running a hack that allows the camera to shoot in a higher bit rate,
right?
To get a much higher quality picture, which is again part of my testing. But to do that, you have to run an older firmware, which would not have any of these latest features. So if it's not this 30-minute power saver thing, and I can't switch that off, we got problems.
Yeah, well, you just have to go back to the other camera, won't you?
I just do what I did every 30 minutes.
Well, we can't be turning the camera on and off every 30 minutes for the future, for the rest of the show, for the rest of the next 207 episodes.
Easy.
We can't be just switching the camera on and off every 30 minutes, especially when we do.
It's a lot easier
when we do 3-hour shows.
It's a lot easier than setting up the tripod. Setting up the tripod. There's no room for the tripod. Maybe in my studio things will be bigger.
In the new house.
Yeah, in the new house.
Because here's the plan, right? The new house, right? We have a bedroom for you and the missus, a bedroom for me, and a studio.
Yeah.
And you can do your editing there sometimes, and I'll be filming pornography at other times, and you'll just be there editing, and I'll be like over there, with 6 midgets. And yeah, it's going to work out great.
Be very distracting.
Would be quite distracting.
Trying to get work done.
Yeah. I'd be like, Guy, I'm trying to work over here, mate. Do you mind editing quieter?
Would you mind putting on your headphones,
mate?
Can
you put on your headphones?
I'm
having sex with 6 midgets.
This editor's getting repetitive. Keep playing back and forward the same bit over and over again.
It's very distracting, Guy.
So yes, that is a possibility. But anyway, hopefully I'll have that fixed by the next show. There's also, I think we've also just updated OBS, and I have a feeling that we may actually be able to do it remotely since this update, but I'm only guessing.
You think that you can use OBS to stop the Canon camera from going to sleep?
No. I think we had an issue.
I see. You're saying that I don't have to come round anymore.
That's right. We
can do it from
via
home.
Skype.
Got it.
But we'll see if that's true or not.
It is definitely better in person.
Yeah. It is. I just have to spend an hour setting up the camera. That's the only downside.
Issue.
So I saw a movie last night. Got out to the cinemas to watch A Quiet Place 2.
See, I didn't get around to watching A Quiet Place 1 yet. I was happy enough with. I just stuck with Bird Box.
Well,
I was like, sweet.
Why not? The same film.
Yeah.
Basically,
I got it.
Also, there's another one I think called The Silence.
Yeah.
They're all the same film.
And also, let's not forget The Happening.
Yep. With the leaves.
Yep.
It was the leaves. It was the wind.
Yep.
The wind is the enemy.
Yep.
The wind is coming to kill. Is going to make you want to kill yourself. If the wind blows in this direction, buddy. If you see, I just remember there's a scene in it where they're traveling along trying to drive away from the wind. They don't know which way the wind's blowing, by the way.
Yeah.
They're unaware of what they're running from. They just know that they're There's no reason for anything in that fucking film. But anyway, they're driving away from
about the happening.
Yep, the happening. They're driving away from the wind, and then you hear this. In the car, and the guy driving the car looks up, and he sees that there's been a little couple of holes in the car.
Yeah.
With the wind.
Yeah.
And the wind can get in through those holes.
Yeah.
And then it just cuts to outside, and the car like does a big flip as if he's drove it off something to kill himself.
He crashes it into a tree and stuff.
Yeah, and it's sort of like, well. Hang on a second.
Why did he have to notice it first?
Yeah, why did he have to notice the wind before he swerved in the thing? But also, wouldn't that have happened? Because unless he, like, sure, all the windows are closed, right? But presumably he's got the air conditioning on.
Why?
Well,
presumably he has it off if he's smart.
Well, no, but I mean,
that's why he's got the windows up.
But if he just started driving.
No, didn't they even?
I can't remember if they turned the aircon off.
Did they tape up the windows and all that stuff?
Did they? They might have. Yeah. I mean, I really did. Like, it's funny how really bad films do stick in your mind sometimes more than good ones. Because like there's very specific parts of the happening I remember. The old granny headbutting her head through the window. And it's like, what?
I didn't mind it.
Mark Wahlberg
wasn't as good as Bird Box.
Grossly miscast as a smart teacher, the furthest thing from his own personality as possible. A intelligent, articulate teacher. Come on, play to your strengths, bro. Come on. But anyway, so I watched A Quiet Place 2, which could have been called A Quieter Place.
Yeah.
But they
probably should have.
But they didn't want to go that way. That would have been more
clever. Yeah.
They didn't want to go that way.
Yeah.
And so basically the concept is there's some aliens, right? And this is not really a spoiler.
No spoilers. You know how much I hate spoilers.
This is quite well established, but there's some aliens, and they're very sensitive to sound. So if you make a sound, they'll come and they'll hit you.
Ooh.
They don't appear to want to eat you. They will just beat you up and like throw you about.
They're like an angry dad when the kid makes too much noise. Like, shut up! You kids be quiet!
Yeah,
they don't want to eat them.
Well, that's the weird, because in the first one, I was like, of course, because they're going to eat them all. They're going to eat all the humans.
Yeah.
Because that's what you do when you take over Earth. You eat the humans. Why wouldn't you? We're, lower down on the food chain. That makes perfect sense. We're now prey, right? And so that's what I thought was going to happen. And then in this one, it was more obvious that these monsters just bash people. They just want to kill them.
Just street thugs.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing but petty thuggery abounds in this movie with these aliens. So they just want to bash you. They don't want to take you anywhere. They're just going to beat you up. So anyway, the problem with this whole make a sound, don't make a sound thing is
people got to fart sometimes, and you can't stop that.
You can't stop.
You can't have a whole movie where nobody farts the entire time. I mean, obviously, they're going to get caught.
That would have been fun. That would have been a funny aside if one of them did.
Well, that would be what you'd do for the YouTube version: is you take the weird clip, and then instead of them stepping on a stick and it going crack, they just walk along and they go, and then the monster comes out and beats them. You
know what? It's funny. Maybe that obviously has been done. Maybe it hasn't.
Not yet, mate. I just thought of it.
But there's a few 100,000 views in that little stupid gag.
Yeah, for sure. A Quiet Place, but every killing sound,
every loud sound
is replaced by a fart. Yeah. Oh, millions right there.
Genius.
Millions.
And yeah, that would be the title. That would be the title.
Yeah. No, they have those videos already,
I think
right?
the
have
issue,
seen types of videos like that?
I think, I quite like the one where Kermit replaces Senator Palpatine. That's quite a good one. Kermit the Frog has just been subbed in for Senator Palpatine.
Yeah.
It's treason then. And he, flips about with his lightsaber. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
And you see these ones, and it's like got millions of views, and then the channel has like 3 other uploads, and it's just some guy in his basement fucking around doing dumb shit, and then that just happened to really work. Anyway, A Quiet Place 2 was not as good as the first one. It was good in the regard that it made you at least to quite a high degree care about the characters, which is the key thing of a good horror, and the key thing lots of horrors forget is the character. You know, the characters are just randoms. They all die, or they're in danger and in peril. But who gives a shit? I don't like these people. I want them to die. As often you're sort of, good, he's dead, thank fuck. He was annoying. Oh, she was so annoying. Fucking kill her next. That's kind of the thing. So obviously, if you can ground it with characters that you sort of empathize with and connect to, that is half the battle. They did definitely use, it starts with a flashback, right, to the time that the sound aliens popped up, and it's kind of like, cool story, bro, but it's just the same thing, right? It's just the aliens pop up and they bash people, right? Now, this is a spoiler alert for the first Quiet Place, which came out several years ago.
I was planning on watching that at some point.
Too late.
Well, turn it off now, guys.
You've had
Everybody,
3 years.
Click away.
You've had 3.
See you later. No
We've
worries.
had 3 years.
You guys can all go because Guy's about to ruin a movie for you.
We've had 3 years.
Oh, okay. Well, we've all got to watch every movie that comes out within 3 years.
years.
Otherwise, Guy's got to spoil them for
correct.
us.
That's what I do.
You know, I get around to. I still
3 year window.
I still haven't seen The Village yet, and nobody has ruined the twist for me yet. Nobody's ruined it for me. The Village came out 20 years ago.
The twist is...
Don't tell me.
The twist is...
What, in The Village or in
the Village?
Don't tell me.
The twist
You're not going to really tell me.
It's a bad film. That's the twist.
No, I've heard that.
And the ending reveals that.
Right.
It reveals that even more so.
Yeah. My prediction is that Adrian Brody, who plays some sort of disabled person in it, as I understand, is actually the thing, or the bad thing, or the good thing. He's the thing, but the whole way through, it's like, well, he can't be the thing because he's intellectually disabled or whatever's wrong with him. But at the end, he's the thing. This is my prediction. Nobody told me that.
Yeah. Well, good guess.
Well, it just seemed like that from the trailer. I was like, why would Adrian Brody be like somebody not important for the story?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, I can't believe we're talking about The Village. Like, you've just watched the trailer of The Village. And like,
yeah. Well, I mean, especially at that time, he had just come off
The Pianist.
The Pianist, yep. Not as funny a movie as the title suggests, by the way.
So, anyway, Quiet Place 2, it begins with this flashback, right? Except there's no real new information revealed in this flashback. And there's also, why do we care? Because we already know what happens 470-something days later, because we saw A Quiet Place 1. So we're going back in time, but we're not really providing any new context, and some people are alive that we know are dead. That's it. So it's just seeing those people alive again. You're like, wow, it's them, they're alive. What are we going to learn? Nothing. Thanks. Okay, now we get on with the real story. Thanks for that little, 15, 20-minute sort of setup for nothing, because we already had well progressed past this and got to the end of The Quiet Place. So, yes, it was still an enjoyable film. Good performances, characters you care about, but definitely kind of and, you're always going to have this problem. When you make something that you plan to just be a one thing, you're not planning for it to be a sequel. And then we go, oh, this film's made hundreds of millions of dollars worldwide. We have to make a sequel. And it's like, of course we can, because of course you always can. But it doesn't mean that you should.
We would, though.
Oh, of course we would. Of course. There's absolutely no reason, apart from your artistic integrity, there is absolutely no reason that you wouldn't milk something successful. Look, you spend your whole career trying to make something that someone loves. And then the whole world goes, we love this. We love this thing you did.
Give us more.
And you go, nah, I want to keep my artistic integrity, actually. Don't want any more love.
Yeah.
Don't want anyone, I don't want to, I don't want to besmirch the good name of this thing you love.
Well, it wouldn't even work anyway, because you would have probably sold the rights to somebody at some point, something like that, and so they'll just get some other ball bag in to do like a shitter version than if you did it.
If you said no, you mean?
Yeah, if you said no, they just the company just gets somebody else in to do it anyway, and it's even worse.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And I think I heard a story about Back to the Future 2 and 3 being sort of that, where they didn't really want to do it, but they knew that if they didn't do it, someone else was going to do it. So they're like, let's do it and make it so no one else can do it. And anyway, Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale. So it was certainly worth a watch, but it was certainly kind of like retreading a lot of sort of familiar don't move territory. And then they sort of did this thing where they kind of intercut 3 stories, but if you didn't intercut the stories, you'd be like, so this is just someone walking somewhere? And this is someone walking upstairs,
like Lord of the Rings.
because it's cut with the other thing. It's like they're walking upstairs, and they're walking upstairs to danger, and they're seeing something, and the other person saw something. It's all connected, but actually, it's not connected. These are 3 separate storylines that are actually pointless if looked at individually. So that's my review of A Quiet Place 2.
Well,
Jonathan Krasinski, writer director, Jim from The Office.
Speaking of movies.
Have you watched The Office, by the way, the American version?
I mean, I know I know of The Office. I have seen bits and pieces of it.
You're deeply removed from pop culture.
I've seen the memes.
You're very far removed.
Well, I spend my time on important things, guy.
World War II docs.
World War II documentaries.
And checking the stocks.
Yeah.
Stocks and shares and World War II docs.
Every morning, stocks and shares and World War II docs. That's my YouTube. That's what I'm looking at on YouTube.
Yeah, that does explain some of your recent Facebook posts where you refer to something like a sort of a meme popularized 3 years prior. As if it's still current.
As if it's fresh and current.
Yes, as if it's fresh and current.
Yeah.
You did the Cash Me Outside recently.
Oh, I do that. That's an ongoing. That's ongoing.
I was like, this is so old. People have forgotten what it is.
They just think it's a new meme.
And they think you're misspelling catch.
Yeah. Cash me on IMDb. How about that? Cash me on the Guy and Harley podcast.
They just think that Harley can't spell at this point.
Now, speaking of movies,
yeah,
the world may have heard, I'm not sure. Certainly New Zealand has heard, and I assume you have heard, and I'm curious as to your opinion.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, in 2019 in New Zealand, March 15th, the Ides of March, beware the Ides of March, there was New Zealand's biggest massacre by, an incel who went and he murdered a lot of people. And it was a really terrible event, and it was, I think it changed New Zealand, and I think, and it traumatized, not to make this about me, the white man, but it did also traumatize me in the sense that I saw it happen like almost live via Facebook without looking for it or anything like that. It came up in my news feed, and I watched, a part of this, this massacre live on Facebook, and I did experience that, and now somebody, some filmmakers with a New Zealand director and a New Zealand producer, but the producer's just dropped out.
Surprise!
Want to make a movie only 2 years later about New Zealand's biggest massacre, and so there's been a lot of outrage online. Now, do you want my thoughts on that first, or do you want to put your thoughts in there? Because my thoughts are, so basically there's been a lot of outrage about it, where 50,000 people have signed a petition saying, don't make this movie. Yep. Now, when I first saw that they were making a movie, my first reaction was, oh, you scumbags. Like, you're capitalizing on people's misery, and you're doing it so soon, it's been barely 2 years since this happened. And you're seizing it as an opportunity to make money, because that's what's going to happen, right? You make a movie, it's an investment. You invest money, you make money. That's how it works, right? So these people are making a movie about it, and it's been 2 years. And my thoughts were like, oh, you guys are scumbags. However, my thoughts were not ban this movie. People should not be able to make a movie. My thoughts were, you guys are scumbags, and I'm not going to go watch this. But It wasn't that, this thing should be banned and that we should ban free speech and that we should crack down on, artistic expression because we don't like the topic of it. And so there's been a lot of outrage, but what's the word, like kind of indignant outrage?
Yeah.
Like, I think there's a better word, but like haughty outrage basically as well, where it's kind of like, I'm outraged because I read the headline and I'm still outraged and I'm going to sign the petition even though I haven't read the fucking thing. And so basically the story isn't actually about the massacre as I understand it.
Yeah.
It's about the New Zealand's response to it and Jacinda Ardern, our Prime Minister's response to it, and the gun reform laws that got changed and all that type of thing. Now, that's all we know about it. We don't really know anything else about it. But suddenly there's all this outrage online. People were like, oh, well, it should be a Muslim story and it should be told from a brown perspective and it shouldn't be about a white person such as Jacinda Ardern. A white savior. It shouldn't be this and it shouldn't be that. And, I probably agree with almost all of that, except for none of y'all have read the fucking script. So this is the problem with me. Is like we're getting outraged and banning something when we don't actually know what it's about. So I'm a little, hesitant to fucking smash down that ban hammer without knowing anything about it. Yeah, exactly.
Too
it's the
soon
cancel
to cancel.
culture. Like I said, it's I used to think I was a woke lefty. Turns out I'm alt-right. No, I'm definitely a woke lefty, but I look left and I see lots of loonies, and I'm like, I thought I was a woke lefty, but all you guys are gone, some of you getting too nuts out there with this cancel culture and all that stuff. It's like, okay, guys, let's see what they make first. Then we can decide. Let's read it first. Then we can decide.
Yeah.
That's my controversial opinion, and
well, there's nothing controversial about wanting to know the actual story before deciding whether it's abhorrent and worth cancelling.
Yeah.
Right? That makes perfect logical sense, and it's something that we should collectively all do more of, which is do your fucking research before you nut your top about something that you really don't know about. Now, my sort of perspective is, probably... Well, there's two issues here, but it's like when, again, I had the same reaction to you. Well, at the end of the day, someone is going to do a story about this. Like, is going to make a movie, a fictionalized movie about this. But in the same way that we talked about, making a joke about the guy that did the poem in 1940 and then 70 years later, we can, talk about us hitting up the socials on the podcast. That's a significant amount of time has passed, right? And thankfully, his family is not listening to this podcast. And, so there's time has passed. So that's important for time to pass. And even if we talk about, the hot button out of the blue, which Harley was replaced in or written out of.
Yeah. Carl Urban.
By Carl Urban.
Replace me and out of the blue.
Is the narrative.
That's what we're saying. But that was 20 years later, or more, and it was like, even then, there's obviously a certain amount of outrage and controversy around that.
Yeah.
But 20 years, okay, cool. The story's going to be told. It's like 9/11. When the first 9/11 movie came out, I was like, it's way too soon. And I'm pretty sure those movies were shit. But that's not to say that there isn't a good story to be told.
And that one about the hostages on the
actual plane
on the
flight.
actual passenger flight, whatever it was.
So
there's definitely a sort of my first instinct was like, not getting super hyped up about it. But I'm also not part of that community, obviously. So I don't have the same connection to it. But I was more like, look, this is too soon to be doing that. Like, these stories will be... it's the same way, like, if you think about the level of death and destruction, in some of these World War II films that are now, watched for entertainment, the consumption of entertainment, Saving Private Ryan was a huge blockbuster that we all watched, munching our popcorns going, whoa, they got fucked up. The dude got fucked up. So that is obviously what we do with history at a certain point. Probably should it be further away history? Yeah, absolutely. But I think the other real issue, and that is more to do with the the idea that we're like, this is fucking bullshit, the white savior, we didn't consult the people, all this stuff. And it's like, well, hang on. Is any of that true?
Yeah, didn't they consult the people?
Yeah, because I've read things that they actually did consult.
Yeah.
And also, it's also like, hang on, what is the actual story here? Is the story like, and this is not the story, but is the story about this thing that happened, and then Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern is, the hero of it? Or, and this is what I understand to actually be the story, it's about, as you said, the response to a horrific event, gun control, and the things that were done to stop this ever happening again within the context of our shores. And if so, obviously, we're talking about, it is a movie, right? But that's very important. That's a very important message. Essentially, that is a very altruistic message to be getting across, right? To be presenting in a film for consumption for the mass people that could change people's minds about how they view their right to have guns, right? In which case, they could be doing a very good and positive thing. Now, whether it is or not, it seems to be that the story is not about that, but the ramifications and reaction to that. Now, you could still say it doesn't matter that it's not actually about that story, because it's just too soon to tell any part, any element. Sure, I can sort of be on board with that. But if actually we all sat down and read the script and say, okay, so this is really about a way bigger issue here, which is gun control. And it's really about how these massacres, not just in New Zealand, but everywhere, happen because of the ease of access to these things. And it's actually about people stopping it. And it's about how the world can stop it. Suddenly my whole perspective on it is completely changed, and most people's would be. Most people would be like, oh shit, well, that's actually very important. Did a little spit onto my mic there. And I think that, that if that is the script, and again, all we know is that it's about, it's not about the event, it's about after the event, and it's about the measures taken about gun control. We don't know if it's presented exactly the way that I've framed it. I'm now speculating. So we don't know, but to me, that's actually something very, very important that as a film is not doing, is not trying to, essentially, which everyone assumed is trying to sort of essentially profit off this horrific thing that's happened in the sensationalism of the story. It's showing what we can do post horrible events like this, and what maybe the world needs to consider that we, New Zealand, have already put into place.
Yeah. Well, I don't really think they should make it, but I don't think we should ban it. And I do feel like it's a bit knee-jerk, all this petition and, all of that stuff. But I do feel like it's going to be tough for them to film that if they plan on filming it in Christchurch, which presumably they do. How on earth are you going to go there, 2 years after the fact, or even 3 years after the fact, and film a film there, without getting your fucking ass kicked?
But that's the thing. They won't be filming there because they're not covering that part.
That part of it. Yeah, I guess it's all in Wellington.
They're filming, we've witnessed this thing. What are we going to do about it? What are we, the government, going to do about this, and how are we going to stop it? So, yeah, it's a thorny subject, but I also think that it doesn't really matter now because we've cancelled that project. That project is cancelled.
But it's not cancelled.
It's cancelled. This is my opinion.
That they're going to cancel it.
It's cancelled based on this negative reaction.
I reckon that surely they knew, as in when they were like, "Hey guys, it's been a good solid 24 months since 51 people were murdered in cold blood. We're going to make a movie about this."
But
they knew.
You're already putting the spin on it, of the reactive. You're in framing it in exactly that way. You're leading to the outrage. If you said, "Hey guys, we're making a movie,"
but I think they expected the outrage.
I think that what they thought,
it's all part of the marketing.
What I don't think so. I think what they thought is, this story is not going to get out right today.
Yeah.
Right. This story is like not going to be picked up and thrown all about. And also, they didn't expect people to pick up their pitchforks because they're like, cool, no one's read the script.
Yeah.
And if they did, we know we're safe because, like, they would have contemplated this from every angle. And not a single person would have said, hey, this is a great thing to make this subject about if we do it in that way that everyone's getting angry about. So what I think is that they've... sorry, we just... our camera is...
Just going to switch that back on.
Yeah, well, it's every 30 minutes, so it's good. You can just...
time the show.
Yeah, you can time the show. You know where you are. So I think they just kind of assumed that by the time it got to actually them making it...
that this whole thing would have blown over.
And that they would have actually presented the story in the way they wanted, as in they would have gone, this is what this is about.
Yeah. So
if you want to get mad about it, you know, just please understand this is actually the story we're telling, not the one you've, and unfortunately the papers have written it to be.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen. Someone did catch wind of it, and, you know, all hell broke loose. And we cancelled it. And now I don't think that film was going to be made because
I think it needs funding. They don't even have the funding.
That's what I'm saying. The financiers are gonna see this reaction
and go,
so it's too hot topic.
Yeah.
And they can say, like, no matter what, hey, look, this is not what it's about. Doesn't matter. It's too late now. We've cancelled it, guys.
Cancelled it.
So
cancel culture won.
Congratulations. We've cancelled something else before we knew what it was.
Yeah.
But we know that it's gone now, so we don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, that was good. There was an interesting thing. So I'm, you know, obviously, you know, we'll be cancelled one day on if anyone listens to the podcast,
if they listen
for any length of time,
any episode, they'll cancel us.
We'll be cancelled.
Then they'll publicly shame us, publicly lynch us for the various things. We've said it on the show before, but this podcast is definitely, people are going to go back and mine quotes from it if we do ever become successful. They'll go back and they'll take quotes out of context, or sometimes in context, and then
sometimes completely in context,
and then lynch us for them. And we'll be like, well, it wasn't our fault. We were drunk and being edgy. That'll be our excuse.
We were drunk and trying to be provocative. We're trying to Mike Hoskins it.
Yeah,
we were trying to Hoskins it on the podcast.
I thought about him today, because Mike Hoskins said something else dumb, and I was like, something else. He was attacking electric vehicles in this new, you know, government initiative to usher in electric vehicles in New Zealand. And so what it is they're giving rebates or something like that to people who buy electric vehicles, but this is paid for, as I understand it, with like petrol tax type thing. So essentially, like, people who drive internal combustion engines are paying taxes on their petrol and so on, and then some of that is being used to be given as a rebate to people who buy an EV. And so people are like, well, why would I be paying for you to have an EV? And it's like, because you dumb, dense motherfucker, the fucking world's ending, and we need to switch over, you stupid cunt. You know? Because
it's the end of the world.
So that's why.
The world's ending.
Like, what can't you grasp?
So we need to raise taxes to try and stop the world from ending.
I don't think it raises taxes. It's just using some of the taxes they're paying to go towards people buying EVs to give them a cheaper EV, which is fucking genius. It's a great idea. Let's do it. Let's get on with it. We've got to make the transition. We can't be digging up old dead dinosaurs, fucking stuffing them into our cars, using little explosions in the engine. That's why it's called an ignition, because it ignites. It's explosions in the engine, which then create this energy and puffs all the carbon and shit out the back to make us move from fucking my house to your house to do this podcast. It's not on. It doesn't make sense. We've got to make the transition. So I'm all for it, personally. And anyway, that knobhead Hoskins was saying obviously the opposite, because he's a boomer. But I was thinking, I started writing a response. I was like, listen here, Hoskins, you know, but then I was like, oh, fuck it. I can't be fighting with Hoskins.
Too long to type.
Yeah. Right. But I was like, well, you know, every time I say something controversial on the podcast, I kind of think, oh, maybe you shouldn't have said that, Harley. But then I go, well, fuck it. Hoskins has made a living out of this.
He made a lot of money. He's made millions of dollars. Yeah. From doing what you do.
I just do it for free. Now, we did mention, I've got big news. I do have big news because in a previous episode, I did mention that I had a callback for an audition, an ad, and that I'm not going to tell you what the brand is or anything like that. I can't do that.
Well, you did say it was for a supermarket, didn't you?
I did say it was for a supermarket,
Yeah.
and that if I were to land it, that it would open up for me a whole new world.
Don't you dare close your eyes.
A new fantastic point of view.
I'm like a shooting star. I've come so far. Now I'm in this whole new world. Now I'm in this. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I have good news, which is that I landed it. I've landed that ad. I am going to be filming it in a couple of weeks, unless I get cancelled.
Unless you get replaced. Unless Carl Urban replaces
replaces me, or somebody listens to this episode and gets me cancelled.
Yeah.
So I am going to be in an ad, so that's very exciting. It's exciting, big news. The first ad I've landed, proper full industry rates ad I've landed in like 5 years. So
1 in 5 ain't bad.
I'm pretty happy with that. And also, I feel like it's going to be, it's just the first step back on the rung. I'm getting back on the ladder, the acting ladder. And I feel like, you know what, I'll get this one and I'll meet some people on set and then I'll fucking be in the ad and it'll be kind of funny and maybe hopefully it'll get a lot of views and people will like it. Maybe they'll quote it if I'm lucky, you know, and I'll get into the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. So, yeah, that's good news. So you heard it here first, people.
Well, congratulations. I knew it would happen. I knew also... Not specifically with this ad, although when you did explain this ad to me, I was like, "Oh, well, this is you, mate.
Yeah,
this one's you."
Yeah, it does suit me. I'm well suited to it.
Funny reacts only.
Yeah,
is what you have to do. So that's really your bread and butter as an actor.
I've got one line:
pulling funny facials.
$6,000.
Six G's.
$750 per word.
Yeah, it's good. But I also thought, like, you know, you've been auditioning since post-COVID. You've been going for a bunch of auditions. This is not the first. It's not the second. It's not the third time you've had a callback. You've had many callbacks.
Oh yeah.
And so, like I said, you're in the conversation, and you've been in the conversation for some time. When you're in the conversation, at some point, you are going to be the topic of conversation. You're going to become the topic of conversation. When you're in the conversation for that long, all you have to do is stay in the conversation. So you've been in the conversation, now you become the topic. And that, I knew was just a matter of time. If you'd been doing all these auditions and been more like me when I do auditions and don't get any callbacks, you're not in the conversation.
No.
You weren't getting close. You weren't on anyone's radar.
No.
You weren't pushing the Harley Neville agenda.
No.
Whereas, you know, you were in the conversation. You're in the conversation. At a certain point, you're going to become the topic.
Become the sentence, I believe we referred to it as at one point.
Yeah.
Now, you are not going to be getting any callbacks or any auditions.
No
because
chance.
You still, despite being the lead in a feature film, which came out... When that feature film, Older, came out, olderfilm.com, when that feature film came out, you did not have an agent.
I was dropped by my...
You still do not have an agent.
I was dropped by my agent.
But you were dropped by your agent long before the film came out.
Well, it wasn't that long.
You really need to have an agent.
It was probably...
It's really the bare minimum of what you need to do.
It was a year that I was dropped.
Yeah.
I'd have been dropped a year prior, or maybe...
It's quite a long time.
Maybe 6 to 8 months.
Yeah. And so this feature film comes out with you and
lead actor,
this handsome leading man.
Yep.
Nobody can get hold of him. People were like, "Hey, so this guy
inaccessible.
How do I
book him?
How do I book him?
You can't.
You can't.
It's impossible.
You've got to add him on Facebook.
You add me on Facebook. We'll talk about it. All right. Well, there's issues at play here, but essentially, I've gone from a job that was very flexible, to a job where there is zero flexibility. Yeah. And that's really the...
Well, you're a teacher now.
I'm a teacher now.
The dream killer.
Those who can do and those who can't teach.
Those who can do and those who can't give up on their dreams.
And teach. And so that's where I'm at now. I'm a teacher. I have responsibilities. I have pupils. I'm inspiring the youth of tomorrow.
The minds of tomorrow, yeah.
I'm affecting positive change in the community. I'm leading people towards the thing that I could never do myself, which was become a leader in my professional field. And I'm pushing them forward now. My dreams rest on their shoulders. In digital media and design, which is not actually my dream. But anyway, so that's really the reason. Like, no, there's multiple reasons. That's one reason. So one reason is how I get to get to any of these auditions. Sorry, I'm teaching.
It is a pain, and it does bring stress into your life when your agent calls you up and they go, "Hey, so are you available tomorrow?" And you're like, "Well, actually, no, I'm not." And now I've got to learn all this shit overnight, and I've got to get out of work and do whatever and do all this stuff to actually show up to this audition. But if I say no, then I get a rep as being like not somebody worth putting forward for roles, because if they put you forward for 5 roles and you say no to 4 of the auditions, then they're not going to keep putting you forward.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's one reason. The other reason is I'm not a good actor, right? I'm only good in things that I create for myself, which can work within my very limited limitations as an actor.
No, that's a confidence thing. That's a confidence issue right there.
Because I've done these auditions.
Acting's all bullshit, mate. It's all made up. You just stand there and say lines.
I've done these auditions. They haven't done well, and they haven't done well because those words don't fit my mouth. Right? This performance was not tailored for me.
You have the perfect look for so many niche roles, though. Since you became Alex Savage,
a lot of bit barman parts, a lot of or surly people at the bar roles,
yeah, or something in Lord of the Rings. You would fit Lord of the Rings, But you could be any number of things with this look you've got going on at the moment. This mullet beard, this homeless Wolverine look.
Yeah. Well, it does open a different...
It does, and you didn't really have that.
Oh, I didn't, and not only that, well, I did have that for a significant amount of time and did not update my photos to reflect that. To
reflect that, exactly, yeah. So I do kind of feel like if you actually went out there with this look, you're not going to get put forward for all those same shitty roles that you can't do. You're going to get put forward for roles that match your look, So they're going to be like, oh, we need, surly barman.
Who are you?
What
are you doing here?
Who are you? What are you doing here?
What is that from?
Isn't
Resident Evil?
Is it Resident Evil?
Who are you? What are you doing here?
What are you doing here? It's definitely like Resident Evil or something like Resident Evil. I feel like I don't remember any surly barmen in Resident Evil.
But yes.
No, it is. It's Resident Evil. You go into like a cabin type thing, and there's a guy with a shotgun, and you end up getting his shotgun.
Right,
as I recall.
Yeah, well,
he gets killed.
Yeah, so no, that could be me. But the other issue is, like, if I can't take time off for auditions, it's also, they go, cool, you're booked. Would like you for a week in da-da-da.
Well, good luck getting a role for a week, mate. I've never landed a role for a week.
Okay.
I've one day at a time.
Let's go one day at a time, shall we?
You just pull a sickie.
Yeah,
at work.
You can pull a sick.
You're like, okay, I'm going to go get $6,000 for a day's work. I'm going to call in sick.
One day is fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess imagined being cast as a long-term surly barman in one of these, in Lord of the Rings or something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, if you have to cross that bridge,
one of the riders of Rohan,
you have to burn that bridge when you get to it.
Yeah. So, I'll get round to it.
Yeah.
It's on the agenda.
Well, you should join my agent, Catherine Rawlings and Associates. If anybody out there wants to book me, Catherine Rawlings and Associates. That's who you get in touch with.
I also really struggle to learn lines.
Well, you should lay off the cannabis.
I feel like it's like if the words don't, I've never tried and failed harder than to learn bad dialogue.
Yeah.
So when the dialogue is really quite ropey, it's like my brain wants to forget it as soon as I've stumbled it out of my mouth, and it's a real aversion. And look, I'm not actually going to say that, but let's just say that it
must be bad.
Let's just say that it's difficult. So that's really the reality. Ain't nobody got time for that.
I had an audition the other day as well, another one, and I completely fucked it up.
Yeah.
Absolutely fucked it up.
Yeah.
Because they called me like the week before and they were like, can you do this audition on this day? And I was like, no, I can't. And I was like, sweet as. And then they called me back like a week later and were like, hey, you sure you can't do it? Like, what about tomorrow? Could you do it tomorrow? And actually, I could do it the next day. And I was like, yes, I can do it the next day. So I was like, all right, let's do it. So they sent me the dialogue, and the dialogue was all like technical jargon associated with building.
Yeah.
You know, so it was like, you give me 2 of those H264s and 3 DVIs, you know, or whatever. And I was like, okay, cool.
But I was going to the Tashi station to pick up some power converters.
I think that was actually one of my lines. And so they gave me all this like technical jargon, but that was not the problem. I remembered all the technical jargon. I was like, cool, I've got all this. I know all the things. I've memorized it overnight. When I say memorized it overnight, I mean I spent all night fucking working on this shit for free. And then the next day I got up, I go to this audition, and then what happened was I hadn't had anybody to rehearse with on account of being in a continual forever alone.
Yeah.
And so I had nobody to rehearse with. Now, the dialogue was meant to be overlapping and interrupting each other. So somebody says something and I finish their sentence, and then they say something else and I finish their next sentence, you know, and it's all kind of like pop, 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 go, 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 back, forth, back, forth, back, forth, and technical jargon. And so I showed up and they were like, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, and then I just couldn't fucking remember it, you know, because I hadn't done it with anybody. And so I flapped it a whole bunch of times. I sort of stumbled around and got my way through it eventually, you know, and, you know, they gave me heaps of takes and they were really good about it. But basically, you know, I did not get the role, and that was not surprising. So I'm just saying it happens to the best of us, guy.
It happens to even prestigious actors.
Such as myself.
Leading men who've been in multiple ads.
Yeah. Well, on the topic of multiple ads and so forth, that is really the end of my notes.
Well, it's the end of the podcast because, oh, Jesus. That may well be the end of the podcast. Oh, no, I've just minimized it.
Yeah.
So that's the end of the podcast because we got to go.
Because we're going to pack up this house. We're all moving in together next week.
Well, fuck, I don't even, like, the amount of things to pack up.
Yeah. Well, this is why I was thinking
daunting.
You might not move straight away. You might use the amount of time you've got to move because you've got so much crap to organize and figure out. You know what I did was I got rid of everything. I mean, I still feel like I've got a little bit too much shit. But last time I moved, I thought I was moving to Dunedin back before the what did I call it? Anyway, back before I was the last victim of prohibition. I thought I was moving to Dunedin for a job, and then you know, so I got rid of everything, got rid of all my shit, and and it felt good. I got rid of lots of stuff. I was like that Marie Kondo, you know, the minimalist. Does it spark joy? That's what you got to ask yourself, guy, when you're packing up your shit. Because I know you're the type that's like, I've got all this shit and I'm going to pack it all into a box and not look at it and take it with me. When really what needs to happen is you need to look at it all and go, does this spark joy? No. Does this spark joy? No. Does this spark joy? Maybe. Does this spark joy? Yes.
To be perfectly honest, I don't have a lot of things that I don't use practically all the time. It's all just film equipment. All of it is just film equipment or computer equipment that is in constant use. There is a couple of pieces that are sort of stored, but actually a lot of that is a very important Pigville, like stacks of Pigville hard drives. The only thing that archives of Pigville hard drives,
legacy items.
Yeah, exactly. So certainly stuff that could never throw out. I did in fact sell a bunch of shit of gear that I didn't need sort of over the last sort of 6 months. So I've kind of done that, and I'm now left with a shit ton of stuff. A studio. I'm trying to build a studio, a production studio. That's what I'm trying to do with my gear. I'm trying to build it out so that we have every possible thing we could need to create films and anything else. That's my goal. So you know, that's really all I own.
Well, good.
So yeah, I'm just going to be shifting it all.
Good. Well, have fun with that. Please don't call me to help you. don't ask me to come and load up the van and stuff, but I will be calling you to help me.
I was going to say,
with the moldy bed.
curiously,
With the moldy bed.
it always winds up that I help you. Curiously, you've always been busy on the days I've been moving.
I'm a producer. It's just this is how it works.
My back. It's my back. I can't do anything. It's my back.
Smooth things. Yeah. I'm an orchestrator. I'm more of an orchestrator. That's what they call me. With the puppet strings.
Master.
Puppet master.
Puppet master.
Yeah. That's me. Vegan Mankind on the live stream has a question for us before we go. That's a good question.
Great question.
Vegan Mankind, thank you for finding us. I am curious how you found us, and I'm glad you did. Vegan Mankind asks, hey, is Season 2 of Emmy in the works? Well, to that I ask you, Vegan Mankind, is that what you would like? Would you like to see a Season 2 of Emmy the Vegan? Because it's not that it couldn't be done. It's that we've got to see demand for it. We've got to see a reason why we would go and make it. The story, with no spoilers, the story is written in such a way that you could pick it up and keep going with it if you needed to and if you wanted to. And so is there a Season 2 of Emmy the Vegan in the works? The answer, I'm afraid, is no. But could it be? Well, that's up to the response on the internet, basically.
So I will say, Vegan Mankind, thank you. He says, yeah, definitely be keen on that. So appreciate that. So two things. Imi and myself have discussed a Season 2 sort of story that we would do, right? So we do have the idea there of where Season 2 will go and what it could be. But it is reliant, and we've obviously put it up on Amazon, and we're waiting to see what kind of response we get from that. We'll know, the crystal ball will become clearer when we get our quarterly returns from that, which will be in a few months' time. So we've still yet to sort of gauge the reaction and interest. Like, it has been very well received on a sort of small level amongst, I guess, everyone within sort of our sphere, of all the people that are aware of the stuff that we do and the things that we put out. We've had a really good response to it, and that's been really awesome.
And it did win the best feature film and audience favorite at the Vegan Film Festival.
And we're very, very proud of it, and we would love to do that, but we can't just do it without knowing that there is a market and audience out there to make it worthwhile. But it's certainly something that I would love to do. I think that the best thing you can do to help is leave a rating and review on Amazon and IMDb for the film, because that is how people discover it, is through boosting those things up. And I guess we'll know a little bit more when that quarter comes in, and it will sort of tell us, gauge the sort of reaction to it. It would be lovely to see it doing really well, and then we go, aha, we're really onto something, because we think we're onto something, but it's very hard to gauge that response at the moment.
You could also help us find the funding.
Yeah, that's the other thing you could do. Put us in touch.
If you've got any sponsors,
some investors and financiers.
Yes. Thank you for leaving a review, and also Vegan Mankind. How did you find the Guy and Harley podcast? It's clearly through Emmy the Vegan. But how did you find the Guy and Harley podcast? That's what I want to know.
But yeah, absolutely, rating and reviewing it would be awesome. And that's really all we can ask of people to do, because that's how the word spreads and we get things out there.
And also watching and sharing is good too. So if you watch it, obviously we get paid. If you share it, someone else watches it, we get paid even more. So yeah.
But yeah, we really appreciate that. Well, I guess it's time for us to say a goodbye.
Yeah, unless Vegan Mankind comes in with his answer as to how we found the podcast.
We're hanging out for the answer.
Yeah, I looked you up and subscribed, and this is the first podcast I watched a bit. All right, cool. So he watched the show. He liked it, and decided to check out the creators of it. That's awesome.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah,
appreciate that.
Yeah. Please hit thumbs up and subscribe.
But yeah, we appreciate your support, and that's what we would like to do. We would like to revisit that. We just gotta make sure we've got the interest or the money or both.
Yeah. So, to all our listeners, thank you very much for watching. Patreon.com/Pigville, Facebook.com/Guy and Harley, YouTube.com/Pigville and the number 2. You can go and check out all of our films there. If you want to watch, well, not all of them, but a bunch of them, you can go and check out Immy the Vegan on Amazon Prime and Tubi. Immy is spelled IMMI. You can also check out our feature film Older. Go to Amazon Prime and search for Older the movie, or go to Tubi, search for Older the movie, or just go to olderfilm.com and there's a link there. It says buy now. You can watch it. There's many different ways to watch it. And wherever you're listening, wherever you're watching, please hit thumbs up because that makes a big difference to us. And we'll see you next week.
See you later.